Incorporeal. The call came late in the evening, as twilight surrendered to night's dark embrace. The voice on the other end of the line trembled with fear, a desperation hidden beneath the formalities of speech. I had heard the like before. Families tormented, houses haunted, shadows refusing to relinquish their grip upon the waking world. The assignment was simple enough. Investigate strange disturbances, paranormal events, all too common in my line of work. Yet, I could sense the undercurrent of terror the family tried to conceal, and it chilled me to the core. As I approached the house, dilapidated, creaking structure at the edge of town, an unnatural silence fell upon the landscape, broken only by the wind whispering through the gnarled trees. It was an ancient house, built upon foundations older than the town itself. The stones seemed to hum with a forgotten curse, as if the very earth had turned against the place. I stepped across the threshold, feeling an oppressive weight bear down on me. Shadows crawled along the walls, shifting as though alive, as though watching. The family, gaunt and exhausted, greeted me with sunken eyes and whispering words. They spoke of crashing sounds in the night, of flickering lights and the stench of decay that filled the air. But worse, far worse, they spoke of a figure cloaked in black, seen only in fleeting glimpses, an entity they believed to be a ghost, malevolent and ancient. I set about my work immediately, gathering my tools and preparing the ritual that would, I hoped, banish the darkness that had taken root in this house. I had done this before, many times, in fact, but as I laid out the implements of my craft, a peculiar unease gnawed at me. Something about this place was different, something deeper, darker. The night fell, and with it came the first signs. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of rot. The walls shuddered with unseen force, and the lights above flickered erratically, as if some unseen hand played with the very essence of the house. I murmured a prayer under my breath, an ancient invocation. Behold the cross of the Lord. Flee away, ye hostile forces, from the snares of the devil. Deliver us, O Lord. The words held power, though not enough to calm the growing storm that raged around me. As I scattered holy water through the air, the house grew silent, an unsettling, unnatural silence like the stillness before a great calamity. Then came the sound. Low, guttural, like a great beast breathing down my neck. The air behind me seemed to vibrate with malevolence, and I knew without turning that the entity was near. The ritual had provoked it, stirred something ancient and wrathful from its slumber. I felt its breath against my skin, cold and fetid. Then the house erupted. Furniture flew across the room, crashing against the walls with savage force. Windows shattered, and a thick, warm liquid, blood, began to seep from the ceiling, pooling at my feet. In the midst of the chaos, a spectral voice rose above the din, screeching words of torment and fury. It howled, as if the very air around me was racked with the suffering of long-forgotten souls. The family huddled in terror, their faces as pale as death itself. The air was thick with the smell of iron and decay. The ghostly entity, unseen but ever present, thrashed violently, its fury unrestrained. They looked to me, eyes filled with horror, as if I had brought this wrath upon them. And in a way, I had. My ritual, ill-prepared and lacking the strength required for such a force, had only stoked the flames of the specter's rage. I needed answers, more than simple superstition could provide. As the hours passed, I delved into the house's history, peeling back the layers of time. And what I found chilled me to the bone. In the 16th century, this very spot had been the site of the town gallows, where a monk, one accused of rape and murder, was hanged. He had worn the black robes of his order, but as he swung from the noose, he cursed the town, vowing vengeance from beyond the grave. His curse had taken root in the stones beneath the house, infecting the land and feeding upon the misery of those who dwelled there. His spirit, trapped in a purgatory of his own making, had not found rest. Instead, it preyed upon the living, drawing strength from their fear and suffering. It was clear that I had provoked a force far beyond my control, but there was no turning back now. I prepared a second ritual, more intricate and powerful than the first. I drew circles of salt upon the floor, each one interwoven with sigils of protection. I burned sage, hoping its sacred smoke would drive the spirit away. But as I began to chant, a sudden gust of wind tore through the house, scattering the salt and extinguishing the candles. Blood and water dripped from the ceiling in great rivulets, hissing as it struck the flames. The air grew thick with a malevolent presence pressing in from all sides. I was running out of time. The entity was growing stronger, feeding off the terror in the room. The only hope left was to finish the prayer, to complete the exorcism before it consumed us all. Ecce crucem domine, fugit partes adverse. The words caught in my throat as a scream echoed through the house. It was the daughter, the youngest of the family, her face twisted in agony as an invisible hand dragged her up the stairs by the throat. I rushed to her aid, watching in horror as bruises bloomed across her neck, the unmistakable marks of a ghostly hand. A gray, insubstantial limb tightened its grip, pulling her higher, away from our grasp. I grabbed the nearest vial of holy water, flinging it towards the spectral form. The air sizzled as the liquid struck the darkness, sending up great clouds of steam. An unearthly howl pierced the air, so loud and awful that it shook the walls. The entity writhed in agony, releasing its hold on the girl. For a moment, the house seemed to tremble with rage, as if it would collapse under the weight of the specter's fury. Then, silence, utter and complete. The family roused themselves, blinking in disbelief at the sudden stillness. We stood there, staring in shock, as the crucifix on the mantelpiece began to float slowly into the air. For a moment, it hovered before us. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, it turned upside down. A final act of defiance from the spirit that had plagued this place for centuries. A scream broke the silence, the same scream from the girl, her eyes wide in horror. She pointed towards the stairs, and there, still hanging in the air, was the faint outline of a hand. A hand that had been, moments before, wrapped around her throat. I rushed to her, pouring the last of the holy water over her as I continued the prayer. Libera nos Domini. The house seemed to groan in response, and the specter's presence wavered, like a flame in the wind. A final, furious wail echoed through the halls. A cry of defeat as the spirit was finally banished into the void from which it came. The air was still. The house, at long last, was quiet. The family looked at me with something like gratitude. though their faces were still pale with fear. The terror of that night would never leave them, nor would it leave me. The ghost of the monk was gone, but I knew deep down that such a darkness could never truly be destroyed. It was only waiting for the next poor soul to awaken it once more.